Autonomous killer robots are already being used on the battlefield, and you probably didn't hear about it. These weapons aren't like the drones you normally hear about. Those drones have a human operator piloting them remotely from some far-off location. Lethal autonomous weapon systems don't require any kind of human operator. They're programmed with AI algorithms that are developed by feeding a machine images of weapons or even pictures of enemy uniforms until the algorithm is able to identify these markers on its own. Then, all you have to do is turn the weapon on and it'll find, identify, and kill its enemies all by itself. A few months ago, the United Nations released a report about fighting in the Libyan civil war. The report briefly mentions an incident where Turkish-backed forces in Libya deployed a Turkish-made autonomous kamikaze drone against their enemies. The drones were sent after retreating enemy forces to continually harass them and jam their weapon systems. While the report doesn't specify if the kamikaze part came into play, here's a video from the drone's manufacturer that shows exactly what that would look like. Imagine if you were up against 1,000 of those. The incident in Libya is the first known use of an autonomous weapon in all of human history, and it opens up a Pandora's box of ethical concerns. For example, while autonomous weapons have automated targeting systems, the criteria for who or what gets targeted is still determined by an algorithm written by humans. In the last decade, we've seen how the military would write off any military-aged male killed by a drone strike as an enemy killed in action. So it's not hard to imagine how racist stereotypes could bias the targeting algorithm. This technology is also being pushed on the ridiculous argument that it'll reduce the human cost of war. But it could very well be the opposite. Automated weapons would theoretically allow an aggressor nation to wage war by assuring their populations that they won't incur any casualties. But in reality, only the country using automated weapons would incur less human losses. Countries without automated weapons would have to deploy people to fight off these robots. This technology is so new that there are no laws or treaties regulating it. The main countries opposing a ban of autonomous weapons are mostly the US and its allies. As frightening as this technology might seem, the technology itself isn't the problem. It's the social system that decides how it's used that's the problem. If we lived in a system that sought to maximize human well-being, we could see how this kind of technology could be used to help humanity. Drones and AI could be used to survey environmental health, manage traffic, diagnose sick people, or maintain public infrastructure. But since we live in a system where a tiny group of ultra-rich elites use war as a means to plunder the world, the greatest technological advances are used to assist that plunder. We can either live in a technologically advanced society where the latest innovations are used to ensure that everyone has a high standard of living, or we can live in a Black Mirror-style dystopia where a handful of billionaires sick hunter-killer robots on the billions of poor people around the world that they don't need anymore. It's our choice.